Can hop into that and talk over this and see what we have in store for this match.
And I think that coming into this match, there are going to be a lot of highly contested picks. The main question for me is T1 going to continue the upsurge that we've seen them throughout the playoffs? I feel like they have already powered up. Whereas Damwon Kia, it's basically been a continuous ramp up whenever they get to playoffs. Doesn't matter the state of the team before that. And in recent times, it's obviously, as we can see, T1, that's a lot of wins. But the most recent wins are the ones that should weigh the heaviest.
And as you could see in recent history, obviously it's a newer team, and Damwon Kia was pointed out in the pre-show, but they have a huge edge over T1. But that's because T1's been rebuilding itself for the last 2 years. And this is a completely different T1 that we're seeing tonight. This is a new version, final version that we've seen at the end of the year. Taking a look at the top matchup here, though, this is where things can get pretty out of control for Damwon Kia. Jace is, as mentioned earlier by GB on the desk, we've been talking about it for days. He is the one you think of when you think Korean Jace, and that's such a strong pick right now in this meta.
Yeah, Jace is kind of crazy, and Kana's got his own kind of pocket picks of his own. You know, we only saw him play Gwen 4 times, but it was 4 dominant victories, especially their most recent victory over Gen G in the playoffs was quite spectacular. So that's going to be really important for T1 as well. They need Kana to show up here and actually have a great performance up against Khan.
And that is something that coming into the finals, or into the playoffs rather, was a bit of a question mark. But Kana has become so much more stable all around, and you're going to need it. Because I think this is the big one. This is the matchup that a lot hinges on today.
And taking a look at this matchup as well, you know, as we move into the jungle, this is massive too, but that's one mismatch you have on the top side of the map. But in the jungle, this is another reason why a lot of people are putting, right now, Damwon Kia to 3-0. It's Owner's first finals. It's his first LCK season. He's a rookie player. Nerves are high right now for this player. He's an extremely aggressive player. He plays based on momentum, and him coming in as the main jungler at the middle of the season was what really turned the style of T1 into a winning one. But if he chokes tonight, or if he falls behind, you can't see that aggression, I do worry that T1 could fall apart.
Yes, absolutely. All eyes are on Owner right now. I feel like of all 10 players, we got to see what his form is like and if he can handle the pressure. Now, moving into the mid lane, obviously Faker up against Showmaker. Faker even saying himself that Showmaker reminds him of himself. Showmaker, as of recent times, I think the most consistent player at the top here in the LCK. The guy is just insane.
Also, the main reason why I think Damwon's MSI run was still as good as it was, a lot of the games felt like it was this mid laner that in a meta where we've seen a lot of teams with like singular carry struggle was able to somehow still get it done, and didn't have the greatest of mid part of the summer split, but again, ever since playoffs have started, it looks just incredible, and he's up against the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, 19-4 in best of fives. He's played 23 here in Korea across his career. He is the greatest player of all time. He's the most famous player of all time. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to perform today. Now, this is a matchup where if you're pointing towards T1's strength, you can point towards the bottom side. Teddy and Keria will be the starting lineup for tonight. But this is a matchup where Beryl has historically been very sink or swim. You can see his aggression oftentimes pays off, but when it does not, he ends up being a big liability for Damwon Kia. You pointed out, actually, Chronicler, as far back as the spring finals, we saw it was an issue at MSI, and it carried into the summer season.
And the key question today is, I don't think it's whether or not Keria and Teddy are going to have prio, are going to be the stronger of the lane, but to what extent. Because if Damwon Kia can stem the bleeding, the biggest pressure point for T1 in this straight-up head-to-head matchup kind of disappears.
It's absolutely true. And, you know, Ghost especially has played a lot of a support role for his team from the AD carry position, which is kind of funny to say, especially because Beryl makes so many of those fights happen. Taking a look at the other AD carries, especially the T1 side, Keria, the best support in the LCK by a pretty significant margin. We can all agree on that. And Teddy subs in for playoffs, and then he does this. If you didn't see their best of 5 against Gen G, it was Teddy coming in the clutch, and he had one of the craziest Ezreal performances we have ever seen. And having this guy on your team, you know, it's a 5-person team that you have, but if someone pops off to that level, maybe you can sneak some extra wins.